Alright guys, let's go! Let's go! Hey. Hey, what was that for? Huh. Alrighty. I can tell this is gonna be a great battle. Got lots of XM-1s on my team. They have a good meta right now. And above all that, I'm on my favorite map, Poland, with Sniper Alley. Perfect. Okay, dude, can you scoot over? Whoa! I don't want to rear end him, because that's not nice. Unless, of course, he's the enemy, which that's a different story. Okay, squeeze in, and that's perfect. Hey, dude. Wow, that's a nice decal you got there. Huh? Oh, no. Oh, dude. Really? What was that for? You don't... Oh, my gosh. You don't do that, man. Okay, put the fire out. Let's put the... Oh, see, you don't do that. You need to watch where you're driving, man. You're not Mater. And, wait, what's his name? Soul of Lazuli. Okay, but in all honesty, you need to watch where you're driving. It's not nice to ram your teammates. It's quite rude. Howdy folks, Sauber here. Welcome back to the channel. So, as I mentioned in my last video when I talked about the brief history of War Thunder from 2013 to 2019/2020, I mentioned how there are just so many... I already mentioned the history of War Thunder, but I didn't have time to go into depth about some of the problems that it's still experiencing today. Namely, issues with repair costs and BR issues. So I thought I would cover that topic in today's video, as well as mention in a bit more detail how much more complicated War Thunder is today compared to how it was 7 years ago. And in this video, I'm going to be covering my two favorite American MBTs, one which is a premium and one which is a non-premium, and that is the XM-1 General Motors and the MBT-70 respectively. I'll never forget when the MBT-70 was added, along with the KPZ-70. They were the most modern vehicles I had ever seen, and when they were added, they wreaked havoc on the battlefield. I particularly got the KPZ-70 before the MBT-70, mainly because I had a much more bigger variety of a lineup on my German line than I did on my American line at that time. Plus, I had the Leopard A1A1 and other vehicles as a backup. So there was that. And then later down the road, starting in April Fools of 2019, they did the little free Abrams skit where you could get the XM-1 GM for free, by the way, but it still costed $60. Oh gosh, is the game crashing? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if you've been experiencing some really odd lag issues, be it in-game or in the hangar, because I've been getting that a lot lately, especially in the hangar when trying to switch from one vehicle to the next. It's very annoying. But anyway, back on topic. So, where was I? Yeah, the XM-1, they did... You would buy $60 worth of vehicles, actually more than that, for $60, and that was like 13,337 Golden Eagles, the XM-1 for free, and then 2 free Abrams decals, and the free @Real Free Abrams Twitter title, which I'm wondering is in reference to @Real Donald Trump. Not trying to poke any fights or anything, but it makes you wonder. It just makes you wonder. Just an observation. But yeah, all in all, I've been enjoying both vehicles a lot lately. And I hope you enjoyed the gameplay here as I discuss part 2 of my topic. So without further ado, and I'm a bit over times already, so let's get into it. So the next thing I wanted to mention from part 1 was talking about what has changed since, or like in regards to the tech trees themselves, since 1.27 back in 2013, which, as you knew, no, it was back then in 2013, the US, Germany, Russia, Britain, and Japan, and only aircraft. The most modern aircraft were the F-86A5 Sabre, the MiG-15, and I guess you could say the Meteor Mark 8. Sorry, I forgot to mention it, but we all make mistakes. So, the following table of information is correct at the time of the making of this video, and as of War Thunder 1.93 Shark Attack. For the USA, we got aircraft, tanks, ships, and helicopters. The same is also true for the following nations: Germany, Russia, Britain, and Japan. Well, I take Japan with a grain of salt, because at the time of the making of this video, Japan only has one helicopter. So take that with a grain of salt. Oh, and to deviate a little, yes, I fell off the bridge, and I thought, great, this battle is ruined. But this really nice M103 here comes to save me. And I have to say, dude, thank you so much. You are one of those few players that are willing to help your teammates when they're in need of their lives being saved. Thank you, man. But, yeah. Anyway, back on topic. So, China has only aircraft and tanks at the moment. Italy has tanks, aircraft, and one helicopter. And while it technically has ships, they were available in the CBT. At the time of the making of this video, they're not available yet. In fact, I don't even know if there's... I mean, I'm sure they're still in the game files, but I'm sure they're hidden away somewhere. France doesn't have ships yet. If they had it during the CBT, I wasn't made aware of it. But they do have aircraft, tanks, and an assortment of helicopters. And Sweden, at the moment, only has 3 aircraft. So, you go from having just 5 nations with only aircraft to having 9 nations, some with all 4 vehicle classes, some with 3, some with 2, some with only 1. But that is a lot of stuff, and that's not even going into detail, having to balance them all across the different modes, like arcade, realistic simulator, air, ground, combined arms. Whew, that's just a lot of stuff to work with. And then, I don't mean to bring up a sour subject, but I feel like this is important to mention, especially in regards to battle rankings, which I'm going to talk about next. I'll do repair costs a little bit later. I might mix it up a little, but we'll just play it by ear. Occasionally, War Thunder will get some vehicles where, really, if you put it at 1 BR, it's either going to do really good or going to do really bad. And in this case, with the mouse, it was kind of iffy. Their reasoning for I got ahead of myself, sorry. The main problem with the mouse was that thanks to its strong armor, it was an utter menace for lower rank machines, but while at higher ranks, it was very vulnerable to tanks with more powerful APD, heat, or even APFSDS. And did I say APD? Oh my gosh. APDS, Heat FS, or APFSDS, which had no trouble overriding the mouse's, and I quote, one key advantage. Now, I will acknowledge that was a very controversial statement and a controversial decision to, instead of trying to figure out how to balance the mouse, they just gave up and like, "Niet, comrade, we give up, we surrender. We are going to remove the mills from the game." Probably didn't go down exactly like that, but you get the idea. For reasons unknown, I don't know if we'll ever know, War Thunder just decided that it was not worth trying to balance the mouse, and just straight up removed it. Much to the disappointment of many players, including myself. Even though, granted, when I say remove, I don't mean remove from the game that people that had it can never play it again, but rather, basically, if they removed it, if you still own those vehicles, which I owned all 4 of those said vehicles, you get to keep them. But if you didn't obtain those vehicles, then you'll likely will never have the opportunity to obtain them ever again. But yeah, that's a whole other topic of its own. Point being is that there are other vehicles that have similar problems. Some of them are major, some of them are not. I won't name any in particular. Okay, you guessed it, the XM-1. Because a little brief overview with the XM-1. When it was first added in, what was it, 1.79 I believe? It was also when they added the Leopard 2A4. And by this time I already had the Tech Tree M1 Abrams, and I didn't see the point in getting the XM-1 since at the time I had just about every American ground vehicle unlocked that was available at that time. So I didn't see the need to get the XM-1. The main reason I got it during the April Fool's sale, which I always found it cool that when April Fool's comes along, War Thunder also uses that as an excuse to have a big sale. Which I will admit, it is quite funny. Like one time, I forget which year it was, but they claimed that the British tanks were angry, going on strike, and they were going to remove the British tech tree unless people bought enough packs. It was obviously a joke, by the way, but lots of people bought into those British Ground Forces packs, and a lot of people got to get an assortment of vehicles. And I got the XM-1 pack because not only did I get... Well, although the pack was $60, I got more than $60 worth of Eagles. I think it was like a total of $75 worth of Eagles. It was really nice. And then on top of that, I got the XM-1 free of charge. And I have to say, thank you so much, Sean Metzger. Or, actually, I don't think his last name's Metzger. What is Sean's last name, anyway? I have no idea. Sean, he's the Russian guy that does the live War Thunder streams. He's the one that started it all, where he's like, FPE in ports! Free FPE in ports! And do what, guys? I mean, okay. So if we add free parts and FPE, then what's the point of playing the game? You already have a vehicle that can do lots of stuff. Why not get everybody a free Abrams tank? You know, if we do that. And so on and so forth. I will admit, he made quite a bit of a fool of himself. And I won't name any names, but there was a certain senior of mine that said, "Oh my gosh, he messed up bad," is what he said, just to put it mildly. He used some other profanities, but I'll just say that he said that he messed up bad. So even other, War Thunder team members were like, Sean should not have said that. But hey, a short year later, a lot of us got free Abrams. For real. So, I guess it all works out, right? But, jokes aside, though, when the XM-1 was added, and I got my Leopard 2A4, I bought it straight from the get-go, let me tell you, the XM-1 was Leopard food. Like, it was good. It was a good diet for my battle kitty. My battle kitty? My battle cat, battle leopard, whatever you want to call it. I swear, in all honesty, hand to God, I think within the first month of 1.79, I killed more XM1s than any other tank with my Leopard 2A4. It was insane. Now, you can debate all you want as to why that was the case, why the XM1 was just so darn bad back when it was released. Some say that it was over-tiered. Some people say that it just simply wasn't a good vehicle from the start compared to the standard M1 Abrams. Others still, like myself, now, some people may agree, some people may not agree, but this is my opinion. I think, and there was even a meme about this not too long ago from the SpongeBob movie where, I forget the mermaid's name, but she's like, "I will make you into men!" And instead of giving them mustaches in the meme, it was, because like one was level 1, one was level 5, one player I mean, and then one level 1 player got the XM1, level 5 got the Leopard 1 L44, so now, it is a controversial topic and I won't go too deeply into it, but some people don't think it is right for people to register into the game, spend 50 or 60 bucks to get a pack, and they're like, ooh, I got War Thunder, I got this cool pack, it's gonna be a great game, and it's like, aw, I keep getting my butt kicked. I can't figure out this game. Ugh. I can't aim. This game sucks. And understandably, people might not like that system, but for me it's like, well, that's mainly the fault of the player. I'm sorry, but this is how I feel. I feel like it's the fault of the player that doesn't do the proper research and understand, hey, this is an MMO game. This is not DCS. This is not IL-2 Strumovik, where you can play the game at your own pace and set up your own missions. If you're playing against other people, then you're going to have some challenges. I'm not saying that in IL-2 Strumovik or DCS you don't play against other people, but I don't know, it seems like, at least if you're skilled at those games, it's more forgiving. Whereas in War Thunder, you need to be at your best as much as possible. So whatever the reason the XM-1 performed bad, be it because it was over-tiered, be it because it was a bad vehicle, or because too many newbies were buying into those packs not knowing what on earth they were doing, the XM-1 was just cannon fodder. Quite a number of people complained. And then, more recently, while it wasn't technically down-tiered, a bunch of the 10 point... Well, I say a bunch. Mainly the rank 7 tanks like the M1A1, M1A2, Leopard 2A5, T-80U, etc. were moved from 10.0 to 10.3, which I know some of you might say, Sauber, that's not a big difference. Well, in my opinion, it is. It is. Because in 6 out of the 8 games that I played that day to make this video with the XM-1 and the MBT-70, I got 9.0 and below. Only 2 games did I get above 9.0 to get, 10.0, because most of the 10.0s, 9.7s, and even some 9.3s were being sucked up into 10.3. So there was that. And now, at the time of the making of this video, the XM-1 is dominating. Now, as you know well by now, if you've watched my channel for a long time now, you know when I say they're doing well, I don't mean they're doing good 100% of the time. By my guess, it would be a reasonable 75% of the time they're doing really good. 25%, give or take, they have some bad matches and they lose. But, point being, if you're not playing as the Americans, the British, or any nation that just happens to be matched up with the Americans, chances are you're going to have a hard time facing the hordes of XM-1s. So then it comes down to that old issue, where if you raise its BR, it's going to perform terribly against the top tier MBTs, like it has been for the longest time. But if you lower it, it's going to dominate. And if you leave it as is, well, it's still going to be a bit of a problem. So, really though, how do you solve that issue, where if you raise its BR, it does bad. If you lower it, it'll be too good. And if you keep it as is, more or less it's going to be too good. And in some cases, if you leave it as is, it's going to be bad. And if you lower it, it may not be enough. It's quite a paradox and honestly giving me a little bit of a headache, so I'm going to get off that. So really though, how do you solve that problem? Remove it from the game, comrade? Yeah, no. Let's not go that route. Let's try not to remove every single vehicle in War Thunder, because if we remove all vehicles because they have their problems, what are you going to play? Paper planes? Go-karts with guns? I don't think so. So the last thing I want to talk briefly about, which hopefully is much more simpler than the BR issue, is repair costs. Now, as you may recall from my Meta is Down video from back in July, not July, June, where I played the M1A1 Abrams and talked about Sean's statement on his stream where he doesn't have a say in repair costs, I don't have a say in repair costs, And just as a little reminder, because someone not too long ago was talking about, like, Sauber, you're a mod, can't you tell the devs this, can't you tell the devs that? Well, the answer is no. I don't have contact with the developers. My superiors do, but I don't. Besides, even if I did, they're not obligated to do every single thing I say. Like, if I went to the repair cost development department and tell them, you need to lower that vehicle's repair cost, they're going to be like, who do you think you are? You know? Because sure, you could have the best will and intentions, but then they'll be like, this vehicle's repair cost is high because of reason X, reason Y, reason Z. And I'm not against that. I'm sure they try their best to calculate it. I mean, we're human beings, right? We're not perfect, right? Not yet anyway, but you get the idea. So, when it comes to repair costs, some vehicles, it's like, I mean, some people have claimed, oh, these vehicles' repair costs are high so that because they're too good, it could be balanced. Kirill Yudintsev, the brother of Anton Yudintsev, Kirill is the, oh gosh, what's it called? The CFO? No, not Chief Financial Officer. Chief Creative Officer, I believe? Yeah, I think that's right. He said that it's not necessarily for balance, but you be the judge of this. I personally thought that he basically said, yet later on contradicted himself and said, yes, it is to balance those vehicles instead of just doing battle rankings. He said it was like risk-reward. If a vehicle's repair cost would be too low, then everybody would play that vehicle. But if it was at a higher repair cost, then only skilled players would use them. Because risk-reward. And I was like, what? I'll be honest, that really confused me and threw my head through a loop. I was thinking, okay, so you're saying that you don't use not battle ranks, you don't use repair costs to balance vehicles, but then you turn around and say that you set them up according to risk-reward? No, don't get me wrong, I might have missed something there, but to me, that's no different than saying, yes, we have these repair costs set up to make these to balance these vehicles. If a vehicle is too good, but not too good to raise the battle ranking, just raise the repair cost. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you think of that. Because me, I don't know. I don't want to say I'm for it or against it, but I will be honest, that doesn't really make any sense. Not to me, anyway. But in conclusion, repair cost system is really just a big headache to even talk about, because like there's some vehicles where it's like this vehicle is better than that vehicle, or let me rephrase that, vehicle A is better than vehicle B, so why does vehicle A have a lower repair cost than vehicle B, right? Now easily one could counter that by saying, oh, but vehicle B has a better lineup. And it's like, that may be so, but what about modes where that's not the case, where like an air RB, or perhaps maybe a tank RB, you have limited battlefield options, like the Type 90 for Japan. Like if you go to the United States, you have, technically speaking, 6 if you're on Xbox, M1 Abrams to choose from. Sure, they may not be exactly the same in performance, but if you count the main tech tree versions, you have 4 M1 Abrams tanks. You have the M1A2, M1A1, IPM-1, and original M1. So if you're taking out an Abrams lineup, you die in your M1A2, take your M1A1 next, then IPM-1, and so on and so forth. In Japan, you can't do that. If you die in your Type 90, too bad. Unless you have a backup vehicle, then you're stuck with playing the Japanese Centauro, the Type 16, and then you would have, the Type 89, and then I forget what that other vehicle's called, but you get the the Type 74. Your options are limited there. I'm not saying the Type 90 has a high repair cost. I actually don't know what its repair cost is. I'll put it on the screen as an annotation, but you get the idea. All in all, battle rankings and repair costs, I have to admit, were quite a headache to discuss, but was a necessary thing to discuss to talk about, why War Thunder is really hard to balance these days. It's just really hard to understand. And I'm really hopeful that in the future, however long it takes, these things can be worked out. Because in the end, as much as it loathes me to say it, but this is just a fact, this is not pointing the finger at nobody, this is the case with any and all game companies. Money talks. So, as long as War Thunder is making money, nothing bad's going to happen to them. That's all I'm going to say right there. That's the case with any company. It's not that they have any bad intentions, it's just that you gotta make money, but how you make that money is up for debate. But that's a whole nother topic for another video, and not necessarily one I'm comfortable with discussing, because without a doubt it is a sensitive subject. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think about battle rankings and repair costs and whatnot. But please, in all fairness, keep it civilized and try not to bash the developers. They tried their best, but maybe they could do a little better. Anyway, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you're enjoying the video so far. Hope you enjoyed part 2 and hope it made sense to you. Sorry if I rambled a little. Like I said earlier, it was a bit of a difficult subject to discuss, but was entirely necessary. So I thank you diligently for your patience. But anyway, that is it for today's video. Have a great day, stay safe, and peace out.